You need to find the people who are not ego-driven, they are pace-driven, and they are just wanting to succeed and bring people up with them as well.
What's going on, dispensary owners? In this episode, I'm honored to bring to you Andrew and Drew. They're the general and assistant general manager of Elevated Herb, located in West Milford, New Jersey. This episode is awesome. Drew actually has a photographic memory, so he talks about his process in curating inventory and how that goes into maximizing the amount of sales that you can get for your customers. We talk about some metrics to take a look at to make sure things are progressing properly. And then honestly, what they're really good at is managing a team. They have a 0% attrition rate for their staff. They built out an amazing team culture, and it's one of the things that they attribute to the success of their dispensary. So you're not going to want to miss it, and I'll see you over there. Andrew, Drew, thanks for hopping on the Dispensary Marketing Podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So, starting right out the gate, what are your guys' keys to running a successful dispensary?
So overall, there are 4 different things that you can focus on when running a successful dispensary. Those 4 different things are compliance, customer service, compassion, and consistency. Those are what we would like to call the 4 C's of running a successful dispensary.
Nice. And did you guys have previous experience getting into like the dispensary space where you can kind of formulate those main pillars, or did you kind of come to these by trial and error and just kind of walking through the fire and learning these lessons by yourself?
That's a great question. I previously worked in a dispensary for 2 years when I was down living in Maryland, now living in New Jersey. And the kind of structure of those 4 C's have come about from not only my prior experience working there, but also helping launch this business in New Jersey.
And Drew, so, kind of to give the audience a very brief introduction, Andrew, general manager, Drew, assistant general manager. How did kind of like that kind of formulate? So were you always interested in this being a pathway of something that you wanted to do? Are you now kind of like being a mentor figure to Drew to kind of get him up to the general manager spot? Like what does that look like, in terms of your guys' relationship with each other?
Do you want to start this one? I mean, yeah, you probably should.
So myself and Drew met, very interesting situation. So I used to work at a cannabis testing lab, and he worked at a grow facility where we would see each other every week, and it was the best time. We were like, hey, we have similar names. We both work hard. We're both kind people. And from there, we kept in touch always to just see how we could explore the industry together. Drew actually started at Elevated Herb as a inventory manager, and has, through his unbelievable work and handling essentially 5 to 7 different roles every day, has progressed into the AGM position and working with me. And our yin and yang is he handles a lot of things, but he's more of back of house and administrative, and then I'll be a little bit more of the front of house and administrative. And our partnership in that together is a beautiful thing, and he's completely killed the role, completely built his way up from that inventory manager role to from necessity.
Right. Drew, I have a very interesting question for you, because a lot of times I would have these podcast episodes with a lot of dispensary owners, and one of kind of the main things that they have, I wouldn't say issues about, but it is a bottleneck within the business, is hiring good talent and keeping good talent and kind of putting them in a position to kind of, grow. And I think it's 2-part, right? Like, it's like you have to have a leadership team that empowers like the rest of the team, but then the team also needs to provide the level of value so that they can show that they are, not entitled, but they are almost working towards something bigger and better, right? So this is kind of like a 2-parter question. It's like, how are you treated within Elevated to make you want to kind of go above and beyond? And then how would you explain the things that you're doing now to, let's say, another employee in a different dispensary so that they can go from, the inventory manager to the assistant general manager, so on and so forth?
This is a complicated question because it does require taking on some extra responsibility, trying to do those, trying to self-teach yourselves in these things, because the reality is most dispensaries are a startup. They don't have the funds to allocate to training, to spending extra time with employees. You are kind of training on the job. A lot of jobs are like that. That being said, so it kind of is like our culture now. We just don't have enough. And it is a startup. So we have to think wisely of how we spend our money and how we utilize everything. So the biggest thing for us is making sure that we staff correctly on the floor to keep our customer service happy. And some days that requires myself and Andrew to be receptionists, cannabis specialists. But the end result is that we're a team. We need to work together. We have to make this happen. And to retain good talent, it's very difficult. It is in this industry because this is a new industry. So it's hard to find people who've been in here for long and come in with no sense of ego, no sense of this feeling established to where they can only do things a certain way or things have to be controlled a certain way. You need to find the people who are not ego driven, they are pace driven, and they are just wanting to succeed and bring people up with them as well. I have found myself bringing up a person from another company, and he came over later on after leaving his former employee. At first, we had some issues and with just like training up and everything, but we spent more and more time with him and just dedicated, and we actually dedicated a lot more time into building up his internal skill set with the back end. And now he's moving more towards the back, and we've been able to fulfill our inventory team out to 4 people now, including myself still. I still help out in that role because I want to chip in, I want to contribute. I just want to be around people who could contribute, and want to contribute to a team. And also we also can have a good time while doing it, but we also have to be serious because we are a startup, we are new, we have to establish ourselves in the market, we have to do everything professional, but there is room to have fun at the end of the day. You want to be able to maintain good talent by explaining that these skills are universal. They will carry with you to the next job. You can use them pretty much anywhere. You may go to a new software, you may go to a new platform, but relatively, it's the same kind of information you're processing. So, taking as much knowledge as possible at a dispensary is very empowering and can lead you on to different roles and different tasks and everything. This is what I found. This is how I found my way up, leading my way up in the MSO grows as well. In the past, I worked at TerraSend, as Andrew said. I was just a regular production worker. I moved into inventory. I actually moved out of inventory because I didn't like the part of inventory I was in, counting house goods, and went back to being a production worker. Someone saw my experience, they moved me up, and they were able to help me move my career along too, where I was doing testing and doing inventory counts, doing the end of the year audit. It felt a lot more fulfilling, and you want to be able to provide those roles and steps for those people to follow you up. You have to create roles as well in startups as well to figure out what you need. And it varies by demographic, because we have older clientele, and necessarily they're not chasing the newest tech, they're not chasing all this loyalty, the apps. They really don't want to be a part of that. They want to be able to walk up to a register, place an order, have a good experience, get some suggestions, and leave.
Right.
They don't need and we're basically just trying to create a culture where our team does feel empowered and does want to stay at the end of the day. We want to create more opportunities within this business, and we want to expand in the future. That is ultimately the goal.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult with so many moving pieces, and then you're also in an industry where the industry itself is also moving, whether it's regulation, compliance, people's buying habits, recession, non-recession, market saturation, so on and so forth. It is very, very tricky, right? And I think exactly what you said. It's that level of flexibility, but also combined with knowledge and execution to be able to achieve that thing. Because one day you might tell staff, hey, this is the way that we do things. Fast forward 3 weeks later, it's no, we have to kind of tweak things and do things that way. Which kind of gets me to my next question. So Andrew, as a GM, obviously effective delegation is an important skill for you to have, right? How do you balance just delegating and saying, hey, can you be responsible for this task, with the actual competency of the task getting done, if that makes sense, right? So in most cases, you would know, let's say if there's a scale, you can do the job 10 out of 10 on a good day, but let's just say closer to 9.5, right? Because there's always room for improvement. You go and delegate the task to somebody, and you hope that it takes out the bandwidth, from said task. But then when you delegate the task, the person who's doing it, they might not have, as Drew said, the knowledge and flexibility to do it. So they might do the task at let's say a 6. right? So how do you go about kind of balancing your own bandwidth with effectively delegating tasks with, kind of the rest of your team?
That's a great question. I'd say delegation is one of the hardest things to do for high functioning individuals, because we feel that if we want it done right, we're going to have to do it ourselves. But at a certain point, it is like a internet network bandwidth where you just don't have any more to give, resulting in extra long hours, unnecessary tasks when they could be delegated. So through the delegation process, the thing that I found to best work is you delegate a certain task, you talk to them and have touch points every single day with them to ensure that the task is getting done, and then overseeing it, making sure that it's getting done to eventually do the final quality control.
Right.
If within that process I'm seeing delays because of something that is out of their control, I don't demerit them. If it is something in their control and they're doing something like slacking or not getting the task done, then it's something that I just mentally keep note of. I'll check base with them and make sure that they're all good. But if they continue to do that, then they will essentially find themselves getting less and less tasks delegated to them, because it boils down to a trust and effort thing. And the whole purpose of delegation is to reduce the bandwidth being used and as spread thin as myself and Drew are. It's enabling that they can take on those tasks and they can feel fulfilled in those tasks and build themselves up and learn skill sets that they never learned before. But it is a very, very hard thing to tackle and help people kind of understand the whole vision, because some of the people that you're delegating it to don't see the stuff that myself and Drew see. So then it's like, oh, why are we doing this? Be like, trust me, you'll know. And it's kind of giving them enough without giving them too much that they'll choke on it.
Right. So challenges. Let's talk kind of like, what are your guys' biggest obstacles these days?
HR, for sure.
Yeah.
I think in any business, HR is the hardest thing. Just the day in, day out scheduling needs. As we're coming into the sick season, you're having people call out because they're sick. Having the right amount of staff on shift that is trained while training other new staff to progress into new roles. Ensuring that the business goals that are from the partners align with the financial needs of the dispensary, and enabling that you do have enough staff, because we are very customer-centric. So instead of having just one person on staff and then we just point someone to a kiosk and say, place an order, we try and handhold every one of our customers through the process to ensure that they're being taken care of and getting the proper product for them. So HR, staffing are a huge kind of complication that we deal with on the weekly. Additionally, software, so tech stack issues. When you have an industry that is so compartmentalized, you have either where you have to go fully vertical with your tech stack, but currently we are using 22 different softwares. So managing all of those softwares is quite a cumbersome task, and auditing them, ensuring that we're uploading to them all properly, and that it's tied in with the legal regulations, and ensuring we're in line with that is hugely important to us. So managing that tech stack has created many issues for us because of the fact that we've actually switched 3 point of sale and e-commerce systems within 4 months of operation. And
sorry to interrupt. That's crazy.
It's okay.
It was a challenge.
Yeah. So it tested our abilities to do it, and we're on top of it. And with that, we're very innovative. So when companies reach out to us for new tech stacks or new ways of incorporating AI, we like to bring them in and implement them to make the dispensary vibe better for the employees, but also the customers as well, because those are kind of transferable in their benefit. And to be able to edit all those softwares, audit it, and then roll it out. At a certain point, it's not really user error on our end. At a certain point, it's the integration partners not exactly working as well with each other to roll out initiatives for more streamlined data reporting. As a result, thousands of emails, thousands of just hours of auditing and going through those processes. It's quite cumbersome of a task. And I would say overall, outside of regular company structuring things and making sure that everyone's happy from customers to employees, our biggest things are tech development, auditing, and information management, along with staffing and HR.
Wow, that's crazy. So you have on one side of the equation the HR portion, which is a lot of soft skills, right? How are you being a good leader? Are you treating your team well? Are you ensuring proper rewards for good behavior and, disincentives, let's say, for bad behavior kind of thing, right? And then now you have this super technical side, which is running POS, e-commerce, loyalty, you name it, you're kind of going through the gamut of that, right? So is this just you guys trying to muddle about, trying to figure it out? Do you kind of have somebody to kind of lean on to help you with these sorts of things? Do you have yourselves have mentors? Do you have any resources that you guys look for? Or is it just the good old, I'm going to Google this problem and see if I can, work it out? Like, what's the method to the madness? Or is it just kind of one step in front of the other?
You want to take this, Andrew?
Sure. Personally, for me, it's experience in the industry that's helped me be able to backtrack or problem solve or work around some of these issues. Even just, you never know what you're walking in to work with Elevator, because not that I want to blame our point of sale, but sometimes they'll just update out of the blue, and our allotments will be completely wrong. And one day this happened last few weeks where I just came in. Bags of shake were ringing as 7 ounces, and they're 7 grams. We couldn't sell a single bag. Pre-rolls were ringing up as 28 grams, and they were 1 gram joints. It was just a very, very tough start to the morning. We couldn't ring up anybody in our first 10 minutes, and then I figured that I'd have to remake every single product card that everyone would make that morning. Scrap my whole morning pretty much. Whatever task I was doing was out the window to keep the store open. And that's kind of it. We have to problem solve on the go and figure out the numero uno is keeping the store open and being able to accept any kind of delivery that's coming into the store, because we have those deliveries preset. We have to keep them coming in. We have to get product on the shelf. The sooner we get product on the shelf, the faster we could sell it. Our velocity goes up too as well very quickly with certain SKUs. So we study the market very well. One of the hardest things it's going to be for this year is going to be projecting our first year, how much we need to staff for the holidays, because we opened up on December 22nd, correct, Andrew?
23rd.
23rd, thank you. And we have not had a full holiday season yet, so we don't know how crazy it's going to be.
Right. On the kind of increasing staff side, I know it's just hey, it's not, you're not going to just snap your fingers and then boom, you're going to get a bunch of, helping hands, right? When it comes to kind of building out a team, right? Similarly to the question about what are your main pillars, of success for running a dispensary, do you have some sort of team building pillars in terms of what you look for in people, the way you want to, have a team culture, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so for the team culture, from the moment they're hired, we make it a little bit more personal. And I'm not saying we delve into their personal stuff, but we create a conversation about it. Drew and myself are younger guys, so when we have conversations with everyone, it's not oh, you got to be all anxious and uptight that you're about to have an interview. You're just have a conversation. What are your passions? Where does your goals align? So from the start, we help them align with, say they have a side venture, a side business. We have a person on the team who's an actor. We allow him to have the flexibility to go and explore that avenue. So it's kind of a holistic way of looking at employees instead of being a cog in the system. It's allowing them to have the benefit, the enjoyment of life, and be able to manage their life and help them manage it with their current work obligations, and enabling that they have that good culture, that good support. We've done all staff trainings. We will take people out to lunch and ensure that they're all good, have constant touch points each day with every single employee, and enabling that through that process, we are building relationships with them just as they're building it with us. There's also other initiatives that we want to roll out. We were thinking of doing paintball or other stuff like that, some team building exercises. And what really boils down to is we want people to have fun working there. We would never want to run a business that we wouldn't want to work in ourselves. That's just foolish and a waste of time, frankly. And we, through this process, have 0% attrition within our first 10 going on 11 months of operations.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, honestly, aligning incentives is massive, right? Similarly, with your, with the actor, it's like, yes, obviously pay is a thing, but if he wants to go out and kind of go to auditions and stuff like that, to him, that is something that is more valuable than maybe making a couple extra bucks, right? And in turn, he likes the environment that he's working in, and then he will do better at his job. And then again, hopefully that, kind of results in better performance all around. So that's awesome. 100%. So it sounds like you guys have the whole employee team thing relatively sorted. Let's talk customers. What's kind of your process to getting customers to coming into the door in the first place? And then, we can touch on the process of getting them to keep on coming back, obviously customer service and stuff like that. But let's start off with what's your general marketing mix to just bring in new customers in the first place? How do you get people to know you exist?
Drew actually manages all of the purchasing, marketing, and has done so much within that has been instrumental for our success. We've seen through platforms such as Instagram, where even with a smaller amount of followers, it increases the daily gross numbers that brings people in and marketing to that. And then administratively, us working on loyalty programs together and ensuring that customers feel taken care of. But it all starts with what Drew purchases, because when he's purchasing the product, and if he ever has a question, he reached out to me, but I let him run wild like a horse in the wild. And it's purchased with such of a cannabis connoisseur attitude that we're not just buying product because we're being roped into the branding, the marketing. That's what most consumers get fooled by. We luckily have had vertical experience, so we understand that not every product deserves to be in our store. So it's very selective, but also very varietal because of the amount of vendors that we work with. So that kind of core of providing that we are a premium dispensary. Also, our interior of our store was built by one of the partners who handcrafted from barnwood every single thing in the store. So we have a very custom look, a custom feel. And then as far as my end of it, I hold a high standard for each of our staff members that you are not to stand around, and not in a very strict way. Just if you want to make more money, if you want to advance in this industry, and your one role is to talk with customers about cannabis all day, I'm sorry. If you don't want to do that, you need to find something else to do, because this is the best part of the industry. Even as general manager, I find myself getting rope-a-doped into conversations because I can't help myself. I want to help others. It's the reason I got in the industry. So if anyone doesn't align with that, we address it as it happens. But that is something that through our customer service, you're getting greeted at the front door. You're getting greeted when you walk in the door. You through that pass through. Then you're getting greeted at the register. Then you're being told by every staff member, have a great day, as you're leaving. So it's constant touch points throughout the entire experience that shows that we are not just here to treat you like a cog in the system. Oh, you're just a person that comes in like a bank teller, take your product and leave. It's more so, how can we consult you? We also have a lot of educational materials that we pass out to consumers so they can get educated before they get medicated. And that's a huge value add to those customers and driving that customer service. So you have a combination of the marketing mix, which is on the social media platforms. We just redid our website, so we're increasing SEO. We've done some marketing ads. We participated in community events. And now it's tying into all of those things, making sure that all of the products that are purchased are great, which Drew handles absolutely wonderfully. And then making sure that the prices are good. Drew also does all of our daily deals. So one thing that we've implemented was getting all of the product types on a daily basis discounted. So you have everything from flower to topicals to edibles every single day on sale. And then the true traditional cannabis vibe is you have your Munchie Mondays, your Flower Fridays, we have Thirsty Thursdays. So when you highlight that, you enable that every type of consumer is able to come in on any given day, have 3 to 7 products on sale within their preferred category. And then on those other specific highlighted days like Munchie Mondays, you have edibles specifically very highlighted on sale. So it allows a great shopping experience, especially in this current economic market. Then you tie in the customer service, the custom store. It's right off the highway. And then you have the marketing aspects of social media and the website. It all ties together beautifully.
Right. But before we continue, if you're listening to this podcast, then you're probably interested in learning how to better market your own dispensary. I've got the perfect thing for you. Every Monday, I release a completely free newsletter where I send out advanced marketing and SEO strategies sent directly to your inbox. These strategies are a little bit too advanced, so I don't normally post it on social media because it can come across as a bit boring, but these strategies will significantly push your dispensary forward in ways that you couldn't even imagine. If this is something that you're interested in, please check out the links in the description below. You can sign up for the newsletter. It's completely free. It's designed to be read and consumed in 4 minutes or less, and you can unsubscribe at any time. So if you hate it, and if you hate me, you can go ahead and leave. I'll see you there. Go check out the links in the description below. Very quickly, and Drew, you don't need to reveal any secrets, but let's pretend I have some product, right? And I want to get my product on your shelf, right? What are the things that I need to do to earn your business?
It needs to be affordable, like something that's fair, I would say, something that's not $10 to $20 over the price of another product. That's the same quote unquote quality. Unless you have some exclusive strain, you have to basically be able to tell me why your product is excellent. But I also do admire people who have extreme attention to detail. And that comes from their menus. It comes from their emails, even just having the right spelling and everything. It's also those individuals in the business who I'm finding are the most effective at executing our orders and getting them to us the quickest. Becoming a top 10 partner with one of our favorite brands in the state. I'm not going to reveal who, but you probably can figure it out. They're on sale like every day in our store. We love them. But it's more or less we're trying to keep that Jersey vibe, and we're also trying to make it affordable. It's always people over profits. We want to take care of our people at the end of the day. So if you're charging $10 to $20 more, it's got to have a big reason behind it. It's got to be extracted. It's got to be processed a certain way, or hand rolled, hand trimmed. It can't be sitting at like 16% and 0.89 terps, and then you want me to buy it for $35 an eighth. Like, that's just not what we do. We're chasing effects, flavor, overall quality of bud structure, and overall for edibles, we're chasing ratios, different formulations. We're not just looking for distillate gummies all the time. Of course, we want to have different options and different tiers. We want everyone to feel included in the market, and that is the goal ultimately. Maybe we don't have the highest tiered stuff, but that's also because we want to remain affordable in the state. And I also don't have to drop something that's listed at maybe $110 for a gram, and then have to put a 40% sale on it, and then it makes other products struggle on the shelf for... the reality is there's a lot more companies coming to compete with each other. It's very interesting right now. It kind of is a seller's market right now. Some vendors have gone out of their way to get us samples. We really appreciate that. That is the best way to get it into our store as well. So we actually can physically try the product. Myself and Andrew don't have time to run to other dispensaries and pick up other product. It's hard to find certain strains too as well. They know how they kind of know what they could do to help us get it on their shelves, like getting us a sample. If they're just happen to be passing our shop, get us a metric manifest, drop over like an eighth or two. We'll try it. We'll see if we like it. If you want to hook the whole staff up, that's even better. That's probably the best thing about it. If I do see like you're going to hook us up with staff samples and your product is good quality, it's going to be a no-brainer for us to work with you because we want to take care of our people. At my previous jobs, being a manager, I was not able to take care of my staff with samples. That was very unfulfilling, but in this industry, this part of the industry, it's the opposite. It feels amazing to be able to help them out with product. Truly, like one of my favorite things to do is hooking people up with samples and our staff. It makes me happy. It's fun. And we need feedback, to be quite honest. We need to know what we're selling. We can't just be like, we can't just be full of it and be like, oh yeah, great product. Like, you can't just be like, this is awesome, you'll get high off this. Like, no, they need to know if it's got a good roll to it, if the edibles are packed the right way, or if there's there's an issue opening it. Even just like one of our specialists was able to tell us off the select bricks on the stickers in the back. There's a little label you pull off of it, and it sticks to the brick, and it has a strain label and everything. Andrew and I are so busy, we never noticed that. But it's just like small little things like that we love. Like when the employees do notice the samples, or we'll be like, this is our feedback on this. or like we know like this is a great strain, like we need that information. And it also helps the customers get better educated too, so they're not wasting their time, or even worse, their money.
Right. Yeah, like it's a lot of these like little intangibles, right? It's the, the brick by brick by brick, not this like one thing that's going to be like, well, if you do this one thing, like everyone wants that one secret. Like, what is the one secret that allows you to achieve X? Well, it's like 100 little things that need to be done really well to achieve the thing, right? You mentioned it a couple of times about like a good product, right? And I think good is very subjective as a whole, just as a word. Like, what is good? Good to you is different from good to me, right? When you're
Absolutely.
looking at products, right? Like, what is good to you? Like, what makes a good product good?
Unique is one thing, something that is in the sense of a flower. Terpenes is number one, strain name, then lineage is another one, but also type of flower too. Like we're looking for a lot of sativas in New Jersey. It's very hard to grow sativas, especially correct, and where they have like a nice amount of terpenes. Like I'm finding some strains that are over 3%. Essentially, if I'm finding anything over 3%, I'm chasing it all day. If I find anything over 4%, I'm buying like 4 times as much. 2% is like our minimum for our store. We really want to have flavor in our products, and that's the goal. I also was the pre-roll packaging manager at my last job, and the fold on a pre-roll is very important to me. Like you need to have like a nice light at the end. You want to be able to light your joint. The whole purpose of buying a joint is to be able to take a walk, light it, and not to mess with it. If you want to mess with it, you'll roll it yourself. Like we're trying to make this frustration free, like for the consumer, and that's my goal too. As being a consumer for years, that's part of it too as well. Like I'm looking for affordable because I know people will go back and buy a legal product at that point, or they'll go back to what's it called, the Delta 8 nonsense and all that. Like we don't
Yeah.
need that. I'd rather we're just shop for something that actually has the effects for what people are looking for. I have to shop by variety. Obviously indicas, I'm looking for, also chasing terpenes. Certain terpenes I'm looking for. If I see something that has a lot of osamine, I'm buying a lot of it because it's a very rare terp. If I saw something that's like 5% terpinolene, I'll buy like 4 batches of it. And what's crazy is some of these products too as well. Their compliance labeling, it's wild, but like they'll have like a 5.66 terprazole on a cartridge, and it will be nowhere to be found but on a COA. So the biggest thing too as well, I want my test results to be able to be listed online. And we do our best job to get our terpenes up immediately on our site. We don't want customers guessing what kind of effects they're going to get. We don't want our employees wasting time having to pull up COA, figuring out what the product is, and having to do a bunch of extra work. It's a lot easier if we're able just to have our cannabis science sheet out and guide our customers along with the website and help them shop. And it also makes online shopping easier, and it makes us look a lot more professional once we have all of our data in. It makes it a more complete experience, and that's ultimately the goal. I want good test results for our people of New Jersey. I really just wanted to get like good product, and I wanted to always be affordable. And ultimately, the goal is working with vendors, spending good money with good vendors, and eventually you will get a deal. At some point, they will help you out, whether it's staff samples, whether it's wholesale. They will work with you at some point. You have to give it time. It won't be fresh, but you also have to put the money in. It can't be like a $4,000 order and you want 25 staff samples. The reality is, like, understand the market too as well, it's very tough to get repeat products on the shelf. Extremely tough. Like if I want blueberry muffins from Verano Reserve, I might not see that for 3 more months. And it might be in concentrate, it might be in flour. It all depends on what they're growing. We're at the mercy of all the grows. So I have to shop kind of around that. Then I have to hope next week they don't have blueberry muffins in stock if I bought a replacement for it. So it's kind of a guessing game in a sense with that, trying to project the velocity of everything. Plus, you might just get menus out of the blue, just where like you'll see everything you want. Like you'll see like infused everything, loaded test results. Our goal too with infused, like we won't buy anything under 40%. Like we want it to truly have an effect with all the new like test results and everything getting higher on flour. If it's 32%, it's infused. What's the point? I'm finding Afternoon Delight from Rhythm, it's at 38%. I probably bought like 3 ounces of it myself.
Man, you're an absolute technician. when I kind of, and this is a complete aside, this is cannabis related, but so I do a lot of these interviews, right? And you can kind of really tell the people who really know what they're talking about are like just like relatively surface level. And a strategy that I kind of use, or just I'm just aware of, is that when somebody's kind of telling me some information that they supposedly have expertise about, they say both sides of the equation. So it's like, well, yeah, this thing worked out really well, but you need to be wary of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And a lot of times just the person being able to say, hey, this is the most awesome thing that I do, or this is what you can do, but there are multiple caveats to be able to do it. You've done that very, very well. So I just wanted to say, you're an absolute beast at what you're talking about right now. So you're correct.
I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. I have photographic memory, and that's really what helps me purchase. I don't have to reference a million things, and purchasing is relatively quick. I kind of know what I kind of know what I want or need in the store right now, like at all times.
That's amazing. Andrew, I don't know if you also have photographic memory or not.
No shot.
But similarly to Drew, how he needs to, again, well, maybe not go back and reference, but he now has a catalog and a portfolio of different items, products on the shelf, and something very key, but you kind of glossed over it, how you said buying a bad product and having to discount it also affects other products on the shelf too, which is absolutely insane to like kind of think about these multiple levels. But on the similar vein, in terms of like metrics, right? So a lot of people talk about, obviously, what's the revenue, profitability, like those are kind of like the high level things. But in terms of just overall metrics, maybe aside from the obvious ones, what are some main ones that you kind of keep an eye on?
So one of the main ones for sure is inventory turnover rate. Okay. So we've essentially cut it in half from when we started the business. And through that inventory turnover rate, we're able to keep in fresher product. And the fresher product is fresher for the consumer and ultimately better overall. We have a smaller store, so the square footage on the actual vault where the product is kept, we have to move the product quickly. So it kind of forces our hand in that regard. But one key metric is definitely inventory turnover. You also, just on a daily basis, we look at the stats, the numbers. And when you have just trending flowers always at the top, then vapes under that, and then pre-rolls, it makes it that our purchasing behaviors are aligned with those. Because if you don't have enough pre-rolls, especially during summer season or even for Thanksgiving, everyone wants to walk outside with their cousins. You want to ensure that you have enough product within each category. And Drew does an absolutely amazing job at looking at that and making sure that it's all good. And also tying in if a product gets close to expiration or expires, we just won't buy that product again, because realistically, cannabis sells itself. If we have to twist somebody's arm or massively discount it to be able to get the product sold, it's at a greater opportunity cost to move that product than to just buy something that is comparable or better or different. And it comes down to the different brands. So you have a good mix. We have about 45 different vendors. So it allows Drew to kind of a la carte pick from each vendor the best of the best, so that we're not just 60% of our stores from one brand. It's like, no, we're spread across everything to get the best affordable product for the best quality, and also negotiating with those brands to be able to ensure that we're running pop-ups and making sure that there's enough brand awareness around the brand. Those are key things that Drew and I look at to ensure that all of the product that is being purchased is properly done, and it's been very successful for us.
So you guys have opened relatively recently, especially compared to, other states even, obviously to the competition, maybe not so much. Are you finding the increase in data making your job easier to make decisions moving forward? Or are you finding it just kind of muddying up the place a little bit? Because it is a little bit different. It is a little bit new. There are different seasons. There might be a concert down the street. So as you say, people might want to just get a couple pre-rolls with a couple buddies and stuff like that. Are you finding more clarity as you get more data, or are you finding that the data just kind of makes things slightly more confusing?
I would say, at least from my end, as long as the data is clean, because POS reporting isn't always as clean as it needs to be.
As we just discussed.
Yeah. that is the side where it will muddy it if the data isn't clean. But if the data is clean, it's laid out in such an easy way that you can manage everything from the operating expenses all the way to what products you're buying. So when that data is good, it actually helps us out a lot. But I think the biggest thing, and I think Drew can attest to this as well, is when you're on the floor, when you're involved, we have a culture similar to what Steve Jobs' ideology is, which is the best idea wins. So if someone has a recommendation for a product that we carry, we're a one-stop shop. So we have all the devices, we have all of the different product SKUs and everything like that. We will essentially vicariously through those customers pull from them, say they want a certain type of product. We just keep hearing it. And then we'll stock accordingly and then track the numbers of the sales to ensure that we're keeping that product in stock always. A product in particular is Animal Face from Rhythm. It is an unbelievably fast selling product in our store. And providing that feedback, we have customers that just come in and they specifically want that, only that. So for those type of product SKUs and keeping a pulse close on the customers is the key to running and operating this, because you don't want ivory tower purchasing. You want to ensure that you're down in the battlegrounds, making sure that every product that needs to be carried is carried, and then we're covering every base from the base product for the recommendation for like paraphernalia and devices to even all the tiny little accessories from coils, so they don't feel the need that they buy a product, they don't have support. We offer them that support and having every single thing that they need from start to finish. And I think Drew can attest to that.
I completely agree with him. I mean, realistically, our biggest thing too is also being very versatile and trained up on our devices too, and knowing our products. Like the samples are a huge help because of that. But also, it's letting our employees also get some deals using their discounts to purchase these products at wholesale, because we want to ensure that they're learning how to use these products. Like not in the sense of accessories wholesale. I can't do it for just cannabis. I wish I could do that, but accessories at least I can help them out with. But yeah, we want to give them the experience, because if we give them the experience of the product, they can tell us whether to buy it again. Maybe it stinks. Maybe they could change. Maybe they'll train me. Maybe they'll tell me something about it. I don't know. And I'll be like, wow, we need more of that now. Tell everybody about that in the Slack. Like, reach out to everyone. Like, this is a great feature. Even just some of my other employees too. I've had in the back recently. My newest inventory lead. He showed me a completely different version of my app and of basically just a new background functionality thing. And I was like, you really didn't tell me about this? You couldn't have told me about this? Like, come on, man. It's blowing my mind right now. Come on, jerk. Like, could have made my life so easy. But it's just like, people are surprising me every day in this industry. Yeah. It's honestly just getting better and better as we go. It is tough to figure out the velocity of every product, but we do want to have those products that are always on the floor and available for people. So they always have cones, lighters. It's always making sure you have those bare minimums. And like the Animal Face is something that's very common. RSO is very common, that we always have to keep some type of RSO in house. Our RSO gummies as well is another big sell from Verano and Encore. They were our best-selling gummies. Recently, the Groons have picked up insanely. People are chasing the Mega Groons, but it's also the price point. Now they're selling edibles for $24. It's a lot more affordable. In the past, we only had like one or two options that were $30, and there's no ratio, no added benefits about them. The market's getting better. Things are dropping in wholesale, which is ultimately helping the consumer and ultimately helping us to put it on sale, because we can offer these better prices to the consumer. That's ultimately what the goal is. We don't want people to struggle for their products. This is medicine at the end of the day. This is why I use the plan too as well. So it's very personal for me as well to make sure the products are affordable and to make sure they are quality. That is one of our biggest things too. It's actually holding vendors accountable for products that do not work or just aren't ineffective. We want our customers to feel like they're being taken care of ultimately, and we want their products to give them the effect that they're looking for. We don't want them to just have some tell us that it tastes terrible, there was no effect, or gave me anxiety. Ultimately, this is the goal, is like to get people, have our cannabis specialists explain to them what products that might take them off those points,
Right.
so they will never hit those levels of anxiety and whatnot. But again, you never know. People always can take advice, and the advice might not go well. And the thing is, everyone has different endocannabinoid systems, so it affects everybody differently, and you never know what they're going to have. We're giving advice based on our recommendations. We can't guarantee they'll always be perfect, because we're not that person. We don't have that person's experiences. We don't have that person's DNA and build up and everything. So we always do have to be careful when recommending. We aren't doctors at the end of the day. We are just trying to help people get their medicine. But once in a while, you do have people who do get the wrong product. The product doesn't work. We ultimately do chase the vendors for our credits. We want the customers to feel like they are being taken care of, and that we're not just trying to take their money from them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we want them to feel like we got their backs.
Right.
And most of the time, that ends with us giving a credit and just copying them the product and sending them out the door. And that's fine with us, because we'll chase the credit. We'll reach out, we'll let them know if the product's wrong or something's bad with it, whatever it may be. But they are accountable for it. They are producing. The reality is they are trying to produce a lot of products. When I used to work at my last 2 grows, the goal was to basically pick a SKU, make as many possible units as possible in that day with the team you have, and that's what you got. So when you're trying to produce the most amount of units, you may make mistakes in production. Things might get missed with quality. It happens with vendors from time to time. We're all humans at the end of the day. Even the ones who aren't using human pack, like are just using machine pack, still have human quality QC. So again, we're all human, but we do want to hold them accountable and make sure our customers do feel valued at the end of the day. And that is one of our biggest things. We will always try to make you feel heard as a customer.
Right. Honestly, like I think everything you said is super valuable, but in terms of even just kind of summarizing it all, it's like when you're in the trenches, you that's where you kind of like really understand what's going on, right? Talk about vertical integration. You're even referencing how you used to package products back in the day. So you now understand how products are packaged, so that you can now clearly communicate to the customers, right? You can now talk to the customers and figure out what they want. And, Andrew, I know we spoke about the data and looking at all that stuff, but like there are some little intangibles like we were talking about earlier, where it's like you need to speak with the customer, you need to be in the trenches to really figure out what's going on. So to very quickly, kind of reel this bad boy in, we have a last little segment where we ask the previous guest a question, or we asked the previous guest a question that the previous guest had, and then we asked them if they want to ask the next guest a question. So they didn't even know who you were. So this question, I think you guys got away with a pretty easy one. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes they're a little bit tricky. But this question is from Emma Albers. She's from Montana Dispensary. She actually co-owns it with her husband. She asks, what would your favorite strain be and why? And then both of you can kind of give a quick little, 1 or 2 sentence. I don't know if you guys have one very quickly, but it's a fun one, I think.
Andrew, you want to go first, or am I going first?
You know yours. You can go first. I gotta think.
I'm torn. I gotta think for 1 second on this. I'm very torn here.
If you want to give a little shout out to 1 or 2 or something like that, I'm sure Emma won't mind, but
Wow.
It's got to be Super Lemon Haze from Garden Greens.
All right.
It has to be. I gotta plug our team over there. I also had it as a concentrate from Sun Extractions last week, and it was amazing. So as a concentrate, as a vape, as flower, Garden Greens is killing it.
Nice.
I'd say for me, it'd probably have to be. I enjoy very great sativas. The more sativa I can get, the better. It's torn for me. I'd say between LA Kush Cake, which is kind of more a hybrid sativa for me, and Motor Breath 15 from Anthology. Anything with high limonene, high pinene is very focus inducing for me, similar to a dose of caffeine. And I just love anything that can get me going. I'm not really an indica guy because I enjoy sleeping and I do it enough as it is. So I don't need any more.
Fair enough. And what question, would you guys have for the next guest that I answered?
That's a great one. I have one, Drew. Let me know what you think.
You go for it.
What is your reasoning for being in the industry, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Okay, very nice, very nice. Well,
That's a good one.
Andrew, Drew, please go ahead, plug all of your stuff. Shout to whoever it is that's listening.
I'm currently writing a book on how to successfully run and open a dispensary. So that will be launched on January 1st, first day of the next year. So keep your eyes and ears out for my name on Amazon. And that's what I can discuss right now.
All right. Drew, any shout outs? You can shout out Elevated. You go ahead.
Yeah, I'll shout out my team from Elevated, but I also have to thank everyone in the industry who's helped me move up, who's helped me guide me along. Those are my leaders from TerraSend, my friends from Ascend. I'll always remember you guys, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all of your help on the journey. I truly love this industry, and I met so many great people along the way. I'm very blessed to have this opportunity.
I have to agree with that, and I do want to touch base on this as well. Drew, I couldn't have done it without you, man. I helped him launch the business, but you've really set the trail on fire. Drew has brought on other team members that have been instrumental to our success. We have the most wonderful team here at Elevated Herb. It's a pleasure to work with each and every one of them, and how kind they are, how polite they are, and how hard they work to drive this under our leadership has been amazing. And I couldn't have done it without any of them. Any of the advice, the guidance, the coaching, and the experiences throughout the industry. And where I'm at today is because of the people that I've networked with. And it's just a pleasure, honestly, to be in this industry working with such amazing people every day.
Look, you guys are going to make me cheer up. Come on now. Come on. What's going on? I'm kidding. I love when a good team gets together. Like, honestly, just using this opportunity to shout out the people that you work with just kind of, tells me, the camaraderie that you guys have, right? Even when we're talking about the whole retaining employees and building out a good team, it sounds like if you guys had anything set, that was definitely something that you guys pride yourselves on. So again, thanks for hopping on the podcast. It was a fantastic and an honor and a pleasure.
Likewise, Brandon.
Thank you so much, Brandon.